What's going on, y'all? This is just going to be a quick horn and trumpet lesson for Viva La Vida. Y'all are doing a really nice job with the beginning to like C. Whatever we heard last, you were sounding really nice at, and I just want to give you guys some pointers to help you along your way. So first things first, let's talk about tempo. I don't expect you to be able to play this at the marked tempos right away, but I know you probably want to get there as soon as possible. My first pointer to all of you is just practice it slow. There's nothing wrong with practicing something slow. As a matter of fact, when you practice things slowly, you actually build skill and muscle more than you would if you were practicing at a faster tempo. When you practice fast, you make a ton of mistakes, and when you practice slow, you're able to achieve a level where you're not making those mistakes and you're learning good habits. So at letter B, I really recommend taking it closer to not 144, which is what it's marked at, but closer to something like maybe 180, right? Just nice and slow. 1, 2, ready, and... something like that. And then every day, just move it up maybe 5 beats per minute. Do it 3 times in a row at a comfortable tempo that you can achieve it at, and then try it a couple times at that faster tempo. And before you know it, you'll be going faster and faster every day until you're at that marked tempo. This is why consistent practice is so important though. So definitely set a metronome under tempo, work through it, and just be consistently practicing every day. And before you know it, you'll have it up to tempo. That being said, if you really want to just push it out and get through it at up to 144 as quickly as possible, then a great thing to do is just practice it 3 times at one tempo. And by practice it 3 times, I mean play it perfectly 3 times at whatever tempo you're playing it at, and then increase it 5 beats per minute 3 times perfectly at that tempo, 5 more beats per minute. It's a long process, but if you really want to get a lot out of your practice session and you have time and you want to spend time practicing, that's the way to do it. If you do that, you'll have this whole tune ready to go in like hour and a half. Sounds like a lot of time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's definitely worth it. Next thing I want to talk about here are some of your intervals and some of your supporting sounds through some of these sections. Talking about like at 53, you're playing now at 184 beats per minute. 1, 2, 53, 2, ready. You really have to think of those bits of this tune as a flow study, especially when they're slurred together. How can you use your air to connect those different notes to make them sound as though they are the same? I know in the trumpet especially, this is in the lower register. Something that you can do to make your life a little easier is think, oh, a nice open throat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep the support going so when you end your note, it doesn't fall off like my second B flat. This whole section of the tune from like 53 to 69 about, you've really got these sustained sounds and your job is to be very supportive to those around you. I know like the flutes are playing some crazy, some craziness right there. So your job is to just be as supportive and as consistent as you can be so that they can be successful. All right, the last thing I want to talk about in this video lesson is the words that you see at letter D. It says dry, secco. What does that mean? Well, I'm just going to focus on the word dry right now. Dry essentially just means without effect, without reverb. So reverb is the sound, the echo that you hear in a room after you're speaking, after you're playing. My space that I'm practicing in right now, that I'm making these videos in, has a fair bit of reverb because of all of the flat surfaces on the walls and because I don't really have a whole lot of fabric in here to eat up sound. If you think of a recording booth, if you've ever been in one or you've ever seen one, you often will see big patches of foam on the walls. And this is a special type of foam that eats up sound and makes it so that it doesn't bounce back into the microphone. So by doing this, you get the most pure essence of whatever your sound is that you are making, and it doesn't really bleed into the next note that you are creating. So when you're playing your instrument, obviously you can't just put up sound deadening foam in front of your instrument every time it says dry secco. So what you have to do is a little bit different. You have to manipulate your articulation to minimize the reverb. So one thing that I think of when I'm playing dry is the end of each articulation. What I mean by that is, a lot of times when you're playing, you want to think da, 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 right? Which is great. It creates a really nice sound. But if you notice, when I say that, da, 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 there's a point at the end where I start to lose some support and my sound starts to trail off. It's almost like a mini little decrescendo, which is okay if you're playing and it's not supposed to be super dry. You almost want a little bit of reverb, and that kind of creates some reverb from your instrument. However, when you're playing dry, you want to eliminate that as much as possible. So instead of thinking da, 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 I think da, 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 da. Almost like there's a little bit of a lift off of each note into the next one. Da, 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 da. When you do that, listen to the difference. Ready? You can hear it almost bounces a little bit more. And when paired with a staccato articulation, that makes a big difference. Now I want to warn you, do not say dut, 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 dut. Because then you're just killing every beautiful thing about your instrument's resonance, because you're stopping the vibrations using your tongue. We don't want to stop any of the vibrations of our instrument. We want to try to stop and minimize the vibrations after the sound has been made by our instrument. So by doing this little bit of a lift and thinking da, 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 you can achieve that very nicely. Here's letter D with that in mind. 1, 2, letter D, 2, ready? Now I know I made a small mistake in measure 2 of letter D. I misread the rhythm a little bit, but my articulation the whole time was excellent. I was playing those notes very dried, very separated, but not so chopped off that you weren't getting the beautiful resonance of my instrument. That's what you need to do for pretty much this entire song whenever you're seeing staccatos. I know at letter D is where you first really see that word dry. I think you see it one more time before that as well. But really the arranger is looking for this whole tune to be a little bit dry in that way. So as you're practicing, focus on those 3 things: the tempos, the supported, connected flow studies of your longer tones, and your dry, secco articulations. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, happy practicing and enjoy.